Morning, everyone. So congratulations are in order. You did it. You made it through what was quite possibly one of the most hellacious semesters on record, and you made it through a hellacious year. You have gone through the type of adversity that I couldn't imagine as an undergrad, and somehow you are still here week in and week out, mostly in your right minds. And so that deserves praise, it deserves honor, and it deserves recognition. So, in response to that, this week's lecture is going to be short. We're basically just tying up loose ends here on the idea of multicultural psychology. One of the things that I think is important is to acknowledge where we've been and then where do you go from here? What are the things that you can think about in terms of the future moving forward? Where do you take this information? So I have a very short lecture here to finish up. So definitely read chapter 10 of your book. You'll also note that for this week here, UNT has a policy, and so I can't give you any new information past the 21st. And so one of the things we just didn't get a chance to talk about was sort of Native American psychology. So I've got some stuff on the module this week that looks at psychology through a Native American perspective in terms of substance use, in terms of the virus, in terms of historical trauma, and how that has affected Native populations today. So if anything, it's a very small attempt to get you to think about these topics. One of the things that I hope happens eventually at UNT is that I'm able to lead a class on Native American psychology, as well as begin the conversation of having a class on Asian American psychology. I think we don't spend our time discussing Asian issues. And so those are some things that I have in the works behind the scenes. To help me kind of accomplish some of those goals, I need your help. And one of the things I need you to do is a simple thing. I need you to finish and fill out your spot evaluations. They basically are a way to tell UNT that I've been doing good, or in some cases, I've been doing terrible. Hopefully, not that. And they give you a chance to express yourself about how you have perceived the work that I've been trying to do with you and for you this semester. So if you can, try to spend 5 or 10 minutes to knock those out. And I do appreciate that. So we're finishing up. Don't forget your cultural potlucks are due next week. So there's not going to be any homework really with this module here. This is more stuff that I think is important to cover and to have. And that's on the module for you, and it'll be there for you. But the only assignment you have left is your cultural pot. So grades are fairly accurate right now at this point, with the caveat being that I have not put in zeros from missing work yet. I've not done that purposely. I will probably start the process of putting in zeros by the end of this week. So if there is work that you owe me, please give that to me. Please send it in. 1 0 drops your grade dramatically. And then if you have like 5 or 6 zeros, then you're in a situation I think could be easily avoided. So if you owe me work, send me the work, or we have an arrangement, adhere to the arrangement. Or if you just gone missing and we haven't spoken at all, you need to send me an email and send me an email today so that we can come up with a plan to get you back on track. And it'll be a rushed plan, but to get you back on track in the next week or so. Okay. But hopefully this will be a short lecture that will give you some things to think about as we wrap up. I want to say it's been my honor and pleasure to talk to you every week from the comfort of my couch. And I need to figure out something to do with these videos so that they don't just sit on my laptop. But I've been very happy and very blessed and very thankful to be able to spend time with you. So where do we go from here? And how do we build multiple competence, right? And when we talk about multicultural competence, we're really talking about the ability to work and be effective for individuals who are of a culture that's different from yours. If you're someone right now who's very interested in going into therapy, you are going to have to understand that multicultural competence always enters a therapeutic space. There is always multicultural competence when you were doing therapy. Someone may look like you, right? Someone may have a similar skin tone or skin color to you, but human differences are so much more than ethnicity and race, right? Someone might be of a different sexual orientation, someone might be of a different religion, someone may have experienced a certain type of trauma, someone might have a different first language, someone has different immigration status. So, as the therapist in the room, one of the things you're going to want to do is figure out how to address that multiculturalism and implement that within the therapy. You're going to have to learn how to build bridges and how to walk across those bridges to come to an understanding in order to help the individual who's coming to see you. If you're doing research, you're going to have to figure out how to implement multicultural competence in your research, right? You don't want to do a study, if possible, that's got 90% of one type of gender or 90% of one type of ethnicity. That's not very applicable, right? Uh, you want to be able to have studies that reflect the diversity of the country and reflect the diversity of the world. So you need to be aware of how to effectively implement that in your research process. Not only that, but the people who you work with, they're not all going to be the same person. They don't all come from the same histories. You're going to meet, you're going to have to figure out how to work with those individuals to accomplish your personal and your professional goals. And there's wisdom in doing that because you can learn from those differences. Those differences are good. Those differences help to make you a better scholar. Those differences help to open up your mind to the world that's around you. Too often, we fall into the trap of believing that our American perspective is actually a world perspective. And too often, we fall into the trap of believing that the perspective we have from our small town or our state or our politics or our religion is the only valid perspective. And it's not true. To really successfully navigate the world, you have to be able to understand the differences that are in that world and utilize those differences to your benefit, to your growth, and to your advantage. So there's four F reactions that your book speaks of, right? And these are reactions that take place when you interpret a situation that's unfamiliar or a person that's unfamiliar, right? For our context, we might say confronting or having contact with someone from a different cultural perspective than you, right? So first there's freezing, right? So you stop and try to interpret a situation to see if this person who's different from you is a potential threat. Fleeing, so you basically get out of there as quickly as possible because it's a potentially dangerous situation. Fighting. Now we're seeing a lot of that reaction today, right? New people moving in, and so escape is not possible. So people become aggressive towards others in order to defend against a danger, right? We're seeing that happening today on a large scale of individuals attacking Asian individuals for fear that they have somehow made them sick, right? And there's no basis in that other than it's a reaction to what is perceived as a danger and a threat. And then fright, right? Feelings of anxiety about the potentially dangerous situation. And these are not, they don't exclude others, right? You might freeze first and then decide to flee. You might freeze and then decide to fight. You might fight, but while you're fighting, you're very afraid. So you're frightened, right? So these four F's can work together. You don't have to only have one at a time. And they're not sequential, they're not in order, this isn't a stage theory. But these are reactions that could take place. Think about reactions that we're seeing to increased immigration. Think about reactions that we're seeing to uh, uh, African Americans moving into neighborhoods. Think about reactions that we're seeing of white Americans moving into African American neighborhoods. So think about gentrification. All of these confrontations represent these 4F reactions that could take place. And then, of course, there's the 5Ds of difference, right? So you distance yourself from situations in which one feels different. And distancing can occur physically, emotionally, intellectually, right? You could be the only member of your specific culture in a place. And so distance yourself from everyone else. Someone else comes into your space who's different from the majority, and they feel like they need to separate themselves emotionally, physically, intellectually, right? So you put up a wall between you and other people. Denial, so pretending that there is no difference between yourself and another, trying to minimize that importance, or ignoring the differences altogether. This is a talking point that you see a lot on certain news stations. The people aren't really different, everyone is the same. And that's not true, right? There are differences between my life and your life that don't make us the same. You might see eye to eye on certain things, but we're not the same. And that's okay. We might have different views, we might have different understanding, we might have a different experience, right? Defensiveness. Protecting yourself from acknowledging the difference between yourself and another to avoid discomfort created by that difference. We see this a lot as well. We spoke about this. We've spoken a little bit about how this defensiveness takes place in order to continue to deny certain groups rights and to continue to deny certain groups equitable treatment. Devaluing, assessing the difference between oneself and others as deficient or less important, right? So it doesn't matter that someone's skin color is different than yours. Why can't they just get ahead like you do, right? So you devalue those differences, or you say that they basically aren't as big a difference as you think that there are, right? Even in the, right, we're seeing a lot of this today. We're seeing a lot of this today when it comes to discussions about law enforcement and law enforcement in Black and brown communities and the Blue Lives Matter movement, right? So essentially, the argument being that there's no difference in the differential treatment of police officers for Black and brown communities versus white communities, right? All the differences are very minor and very small, right? And so they don't really matter, right? Really, you just need to pay attention to the law. Everything will work out okay for you. And so we know that that is a mechanism often used in order to minimize what we actually see in the world around us. And then discovery, appreciating the differences between yourself and other, seeking how enriching that difference may be, and seeking out opportunities to gain familiarity, right? Discovery is where you want to be. And discovery, I hope in some way the class has brought you to on some level. One of the things I always say is if you get a chance in your time at UNT to study abroad and to go overseas for a year or a semester, or with me this summer, do that. It's one of the most important things you will do in your college career. It's one of the biggest regrets of my own college career that I didn't do it. It is so important to get out of your comfort zone and see the world through a different lens. It's so important for your growth. It's so important for your understanding. It's so important for you to understand and define yourself. And oftentimes you find yourself on the other side of the world when you're in a strange culture to you where you don't speak the language. That is when you realize who you are and who you are not. You need to go through this experience. So to the extent that time and responsibility and money allows, please definitely do that. Similarity. So we spoke about differences. Now we're talking about similarities, right? So, and these are very interesting in and of themselves in that they're designed to discuss the ways in which our values can align with others. So first, they're simple, right? Things that are similar to us, our values are easy or comfortable. They're safe. Things that are similar to us, our values are not a threat because we know how to deal with them and we can know what to expect. And then sane. Things that are similar to us, our values help us feel normal, because if we're like everyone else, we are validated and affirmed. So we like, and this is something I talk about at length in my social psychology class. We like to do what other people are doing. We like to conform. We don't like to stand out. We also like others to be like us. We like others to have our thoughts, our opinions, to do what we want to do. We don't like it when people are different. We like it when people are just like us. And multiculturalism forces you to understand that people are not like you, that they are quite different. So we have to understand other worldviews. So this is where we get back into the importance of traveling overseas and traveling often and studying abroad, right? You need to learn key historical events. And you need to learn in the right way too, right? Um, we don't talk a lot, we don't talk any at all about the history of the continent of Africa and how that history has affected generationally the development of African Americans in the current country. We don't talk about that. We don't bring it up, right? We don't talk about the history uh, of Asian countries and how that history has influenced how they immigrated to this country and the laws that we enacted to prevent them from doing so, right? So we need to understand historical events and how that shaped the current time that we're in. We need to become aware of social political issues. I hope on some level, especially here in the great state of Texas, you've begun the process of thinking about how social political events affect you, right? The Black Lives Matter movement affects you in some way, regardless of which side of the argument you're on, right? Um, the growing calls for defunding the police affect you in some way, regardless of what side of the argument that you're on, right? The increased the increased amount of immigration from Central America, right, affects you on some level, right? Hopefully, uh, the documentary that we showed in class on DACA got you thinking about that a little bit. So you need to be aware of these social political issues because they affect you, they affect the environment you're in, and they will affect the developmental trajectory that you'll be on. You need to know basic values and beliefs. So the most basic parts of yourself. Who are you? What do you value? Who do you value? What do you believe? What are the cultural practices that you have? What are the cultural practices that others have around you? How does that influence who you are, who you're going to become? Hopefully, we've done at least a decent job of getting you to think about the dynamics of racism, discrimination, and stereotyping. You're going to be dealing with these issues well beyond the end of this course. So hopefully you've begun to think about them now. So the question then that we end on is, how do we develop culturally appropriate interpersonal skills? Right? First, we need education and training. So you're doing that now in this class. Don't stop doing it. Don't stop learning. Don't stop training. If you can do it, find a career that allows you to continue to learn every day. If you have the money and the desire, go to grad school. Go to grad school, get a master's or a PhD so you can learn these topics, and then do research in the field to help others learn. Have experience and practice. You need to continually expose yourself to different people, different cultures, different understanding of the world. Say, I don't know. I do this a lot in a live class. I'll get a question and I'll say, and I hadn't thought about that. I don't know. What do you think? You have to understand, getting a PhD does not mean you know everything. It's actually quite the opposite. Getting a PhD is an acknowledgement that you know nothing, but that you've decided to take on a lifelong journey of learning and trying to become an expert so you can teach others. But that you have the understanding that oftentimes when you teach, you will be learning from other people. Travel, we've spoken about. You have to get out of here. Right now, travel is closed, I understand, but travel will not always be closed. So get out of the country, get out of the continent, go see another world, go see another culture, go live amongst them, learn another language. Just by learning another language, you are going to open your mind up to so much in this world. There's more than just good old American English in your town somewhere in the South. Open your mind and open up yourself to experiencing the world around you. It's one of the most fantastic things you can do for yourself. It's absolutely one of the best things you'll do for your future families. Learn to be an ally of those people who are disadvantaged. When you see inequality, address it. When you see a lack of equity, make some noise to make it equitable. Be an ally to those people who need help. Be a voice for those who do not have a voice. Be strength for those who do not have strength. Speak up for yourself. Give your opinion. Give your unique viewpoint. Learn that how you feel is okay. What you think is okay. Learn that you are enough as you are now. Continually seek out to discover new information. Never feel that you've arrived and that you've learned enough. Don't ever feel that way. Challenge yourself to learn more. And then, of course, develop empathy. If you're someone who is going off to be a therapist, you have to have this skill. And even if you're not going into clinical, if you can empathize with a human being, if you can understand what they've been through and why they're responding the way that they are more likely to open up to you, and you're more likely to learn something about them and yourself. You have to practice empathy. You have to learn it. Empathy, in many ways, is a verb. You have to learn to open this up and understand that. And that is the end of our class. So, again, it has been my ultimate pleasure and honor. And as happy as I am that the semester is ending for you, I need to be honest that I'm somewhat sad for myself because I miss talking to you and I will miss hearing your experiences. But I do hope that you have a great, wonderful rest of the semester, and do know that I am around. And I won't submit grades to the beginning of May, so you have some time left to get some things in. So get to it, and just know that I hope to see you in the halls in the fall. I hope to hear from you over the summer, and I have enjoyed spending these last 15 weeks getting to know you and to talk about multiculturalism with you. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you all later.